Hello everyone and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. In today's video I will be using my brand new mould from Moulds and Shapes. It's the Cascade Geode Coaster mould. And I will be using it to make some resin bloom style coasters. Yep, I'm late to the party, but better late than never, eh? I needed inspiration this week. You know, sometimes you just can't think what to do. So the first person I thought of to go to was Petra Gibracht. I hope I've said that right. But Petra always inspires me so much, and I will leave a link to her video in the video description to this video, where you will see her doing the same thing, but probably a bit better than me. Anyway, you're here for now, so make yourself comfy and enjoy the video. Okay, here's my brand new mould from Moulds and Shapes, and it's the Cascade Geode Coaster mould, and it's very unique, as you can see. I've mixed up 430 grams of Art Pro resin from Resin Pro, and it's a medium viscosity resin, so it's fairly thick. Not too thick, not too thin. I took out 45 grams of the mixed resin and I added 6 drops of the white Colour Fun liquid pigment, which you've just seen there. And all I'm doing here is pouring it into a disposable piping bag. Once I'd finished pouring in all the white pigmented resin, I twisted it and I put it to the side for later on. Before pouring my clear resin into the coasters, I took some sticky tape and just got rid of any bits of fluff and, dust that I could see. I had already used this once and yeah, we won't talk about that. This is my second attempt, and so yeah, I'm just making sure I haven't left anything behind from my first attempt, and yeah, cleaning it up a bit. Once I'd finished cleaning it up, I poured in my resin almost to the top of each cavity, but not all the way to the top. I just left a little bit of space because obviously I'm going to be adding the white, and that will bring up the level a little bit, but not much. And the ink which I'm going to be adding, that won't really take up any space at all. So I just was thinking of the white that I would be adding, and yeah, left a tiny little bit of space. I'm going to speed this up anyway because I ended up with not quite enough for the last one and too much in the others. So it got a bit messy, but I got them all the same in the end. Right then, in my first attempt, which I said I wouldn't mention, well, I'm going to mention it just because the inks I used were too intense and they didn't spread very well. I don't know why, but they just didn't. And so I did have some cheaper inks that I had from ages ago and hadn't really used. And the colour in them isn't as intense and they did spread so much better. So yeah, I was glad that I had those cheaper ones. Sometimes it pays to have the cheaper ones, as you can see. They were just, it spread much better. And I will leave a link anyway in the description because I can't remember what they're called. So I've used lemon yellow in the middle, and I'm just adding 4 drops of fuchsia around the edge of the yellow. And already it wasn't turning out as well as Petra's did. Yeah, she made it look so easy, but she's had so much practice, you see. She does this a lot and she's got so good at it. I don't expect to be as good as her overnight, but anyway, she inspired me and I'm having a go. So after adding the fuchsia, I added a little bit more yellow to the middle to try and make it spread out so that yellow in the middle stood out a bit more because it started to close up. And then I added my forget-me-not blue between each of those pink circles to try and get my blue petals. After you've finished watching this video, I highly recommend that you use my link in the description to go and watch Petra's video to see how this is done properly. Yeah, Hers turned out very differently to mine. I'm still happy with what I achieved, but yeah, it's definitely worth popping along and seeing the other video, which is the one that inspired me in the first place. So you can see it's looking very interesting, and we're about ready for the white. I just added a few drops of the colours where I could see that it was a little bit uneven. I managed to mess up the one on the top right, but hey ho, it always happens to me. I'm not very careful with the ink and sometimes it goes everywhere. But anyway, yeah, I added a little bit in places where it was needed, and then it was the fun part, the white. So I snipped off the end of the piping bag, and the white resin just kind of pours out by itself. You don't need to squeeze it if it's, if you make the hole big enough. I didn't want the hole too big or too small. It's just kind of trial and error getting it just right. Then I started from the centre and made a spiral in each coaster, just letting the resin flow by itself without squeezing. I tried not to go right to the edge. Tried to stay away from the edge and just repeated the same process on all 4 coasters. And I know I said I'm a bit late to the party, but I have actually tried this technique in a few different ways before. When I've done it before, I've kind of drawn the petals of a flower. I've not done it in a spiral like this. And yeah, I've done it in a couple of other ways too, and you will have seen those videos. So yeah, it's not completely my first attempt. So the way Petra did it was not the way you're seeing just now, because I went the wrong way. But I went round the petals, just like Petra did in the end with this next one. I got it right, from the outside inwards. And I'm not poking my micro brush, that's what I'm using, a micro brush. I'm not poking it all the way down to the bottom. It's just going through the surface and through the resin that I've just poured, the white resin, just form the pattern. Try not to touch the base of the mould. So yeah, I'm just going around the shape that those blue circles have made, and that's my guide for the petals. And once I've gone round each one, I also go down the gap in between them again, because that's what Petra did, and I'm trying to do it just like she did. and it's down the centre of each petal as well. Yeah. It's quite exciting, doing this technique. I do love the way the white resin pulls towards the middle and gives you that 3D effect. It's like magic. It really is so good. So after the first one, I got a little bit more confident and it went a lot more smoothly than the first one. And I also did, what I didn't mention with that first one was I did a little swirl in the middle as well, just to add a bit of interest into the middle. What I could have done was added a little bit of glitter, but I decided not to do that. I'm not the biggest fan of glitter because sometimes... I know it looks lovely, but sometimes I've used it and completely ruined what I've made because the glitter just takes over. So yeah, I don't use glitter all that much, I've got to be honest. So yeah, a little swirl in the middle, and yeah, that's all I did for them all. And I will speed up again, and that will be ready for curing and unmoulding. Okay then, so the next day it was time to take them out of the moulds, and I was really hoping that it had worked good enough to make a video because I was running out of time to get my video ready for publishing, and yeah, it was all a little bit last minute after the first one went wrong. So yeah, as you can see, the ink has really gone towards the centre and it's more white on the outside, but we will see how it looks. Right, we're ready. Let's have a look. So I'm going to put some black card behind it so that you can see better. But already you can see it's a really unusual effect. I've got some big dollops that have come down in that one, which I actually really like. I think it adds a lot of movement to it when those big dollopy bits come down. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I don't mind it when it's not too much. On my first attempt, I got loads coming down, but this one was a lot better. I think next time I will add 1 drop less, so I will do 45 grams of resin with 5 drops of the white pigment instead of 6 and see if that makes a difference. But yeah, I think the results are really quite sweet. Yeah, I'm happy with them, and I'm actually going to put some gold around the edges in a second, and you will see that actually made a lot of difference. But anyway, yeah, what do you think? I'm not sure I'm keen on the colour. I think the blue's just a little bit too bright with that white, and the pink as well possibly. I think I would go for more subdued, darker tones next time. I think this one's my favourite, you know, with the black background. If I do it again next time, I won't fill it all the way to the top. I will leave space for a layer of black, and yeah, then it stands out a lot more. But I'm quite happy with that. So let's put the gold around the edges and you'll see how that transforms it as well. So for the edges, I'm just going to use my gold marker from my chrome marker set from Let's Resin. I do love these markers, they're really good. And I'm not colouring in the edges. It would be difficult to colour them in because of the way this coaster is. You wouldn't be able to get into all the nooks and crannies. I'm just going along the edge, and it's really easy actually. It looks hard, but you kind of balance your pen on the edge of each layer, and it's really easy to do it that way, and it just gives it a subtle bit of emphasis, you might say, around the edge of each layer. And you'll see in a minute how that really does transform the finished piece. And here it is with all the gold added, and I think it really does transform the coasters. I love the design of these coasters. Isn't it great having those layers like that, those levels on the edges? It's really unusual. So what I would suggest you do, and what I will do, I just haven't had time yet, to protect that gold is use some spray varnish all around the edges. Don't worry about getting varnish on the top, because what you should really do after you've sprayed all the edges is add a layer of heat resistant resin on the top if you've got it. I am thinking of doing a heat test on these, without heat resistant resin on, but I will need to leave them a couple of weeks before I do it. But if I do that, I will show you just to see, because I have often wondered, is it really necessary to use heat resistant resin? I'm not sure, because it can be quite a pain when you've just finished and then you've got to go and do a top coat. We'll see. We'll see about that. Anyway, we've come to the end of this video. Once again, I would like to ask you if you would just follow the link in my description to see Petra's version of this, because it is much better. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed and you would like to, please do. And I will see you again next week. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.